A new report is warning that climate change could be lethal for many Australians. The Climate Commission says climbing temperatures will cause more heat waves that could lead to an increase in heart attacks, strokes and heat exhaustion. It's also warning there will be a greater incidence of infectious diseases.
Now, momentarily we'll be speaking to Professor Tim Flannery. In fact, momentarily has come quicker than I expected. He, in fact, is sitting down in Sydney. He, of course, is the Chief Commissioner of the Climate Commission, and he joins us now. Tim Flannery, good morning.
Good morning, Michael. Good to be with you.
Good to see you. Now, reading this report and looking at some of the figures, positing a possible heat-related deaths rising to as high as 18,000 by the end of the century. That's pretty alarming stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, they are big numbers, but as the climate warms, heat waves will get longer and more intense, and temperatures won't go down as much overnight. So it's those factors that tend to contribute to those increased mortality from heat stress.
How has the Commission, though, come up with such a relatively precise figure relating heat-related deaths directly to climate change?
Well, look, we commissioned the report from some of the experts in the field, including Tony McMichael, who's the lead author on the IPCC health impacts. And they've done a tremendous amount of research over the years looking at these factors, and they're the figures they came up with.
And you're quite confident at the scientific basis linking extreme weather events to heat-related deaths? Sure,
yeah. Well, that report, as you know, the extreme weather events report only came out a couple of weeks ago, but we did manage to take account of it in this report. So, yeah, it's based on the best science we have. They are projections, as everyone understands, so we know they're not predictions as such, but they are projections, and they give us a sense of the sort of things we need to be concerned about and prepare for as our climate warms.
What sort of people, according to this report, are most at risk if the temperature does keep rising as is projected?
Well, look, for those heat-related deaths, it's obviously people who work outside need to be more careful because they don't have access to air conditioning and become heat stressed quite quickly. Older people, as well as very young people also, who have difficulty controlling their body temperature. So they're the groups we're most concerned about. Also those in the lower socio-economic categories that may not have access to good air conditioning and so forth.
You also talk in this report about the possible mental health effects of a rising temperature, and my attention was drawn to one paragraph, which I'm paraphrasing, but it eventually said, fears about climate change, young people hearing interviews like this are leading them to essentially freak out and have potential stress and mental health issues. We're creating a self-perpetuating cycle here, aren't we?
Well, I think some aspects of the media are clearly some of the right-wing lunacy that goes on
but
around
also
screaming
young
about
people listening to people like you, Tim Flannery, as well.
Climate change. Well, that's right, and I don't think they should be scared by what I have to say. These are projections that we need to be concerned about and need to be prepared for. It's not as if the end of the world's coming or anything else, but these are serious issues. Groups like the AMA and the medical sector as a whole acknowledge they need to be prepared for this. And we need to do our best to make sure that we both limit temperature rise and adapt to those inevitabilities, those things we can't change.
But the problem is, as you well know, projections can turn out to be horribly off the mark. You've made various projections in the past that, thankfully, given the dire state of them, haven't been borne out.
Well, give me an example to be fine.
You were predicting, in March 2008, you were predicting Adelaide, I'm quoting you directly, may run out of water by early 2009. And I looked just before coming on air, the water reservoir levels in Adelaide was at 77%.
Look, what I was saying back then was that we've got serious water security problems around our cities and we need to act to deal with it. I was in Perth over late last week and was introduced by the head of the Water Authority there, who actually thanked me for raising the alarm for places like Perth, where now 30% of the water that's consumed in Perth is from desal plants. Last year the runoff into the dams was only 2% of what they'd received in previous decades. So these water security issues were a serious problem. Cities have moved to deal with them, some cities better than others, but it's very important, I think, that we do say that, there are problems here, and we then go on and deal with them.
How do we deal, therefore? I mean, what is the Commission recommending to authorities as the best way of dealing with or trying to prevent what you're projecting to be that very high level of heat-related deaths in coming decades?
Well, look, we clearly need to have the medical sector on side and understanding this and anticipating these potential changes. And we've achieved that with the level of support we've got from the medical sector with this new report. We also need to limit our emissions, and Australia has taken action to do that this year, as has many other nations over the last couple of years. We haven't done enough, but we are beginning to reduce emissions overall, and that's a good thing. So we need to act in both ways.
Australia is in fact taking action, but as you're aware, Tim Flannery, the latest climate change conference is about to get underway in Durban, South Africa, and any fair-minded observer would have to say the prospects for any global agreement or any prospects of global agreement in that conference look very, very slim indeed.
Well, most of the action we're seeing is happening outside that arena that deals with the global agreement. So the Copenhagen Accord, for example, it was broken in Copenhagen, where nations set their own targets. That has, in terms of pledges, delivered about half of the emissions reductions we need to stay below 2 degrees of warming. So there's still more that needs to be done. Durban will be another step on the road, but a lot of action, a lot of the important actions are actually happening outside those global conferences now.
OK, Tim Flannery from the Climate Change Commission, thank you very much.